Okay, guys, so I think I'm live, but I haven't been able to jump into that one that I've preset, so apologies for that. Um, as I said, first time setting up this live stream, and I always knew there was going to be a technical glitch, so I'll just wait till we've got a few more people tuned in, and I'll jump into the content I want to cover tonight. So. Got a few people in the chat room. Yeah. Cool. So can everyone just let me know if you can hear me loud and clear in that chat box, and I'll jump into it. Yep. Awesome. Okay. Thanks, guys. So sorry about that. I knew there'd be a technical glitch first time I tried to go live. So what I want to talk about tonight is how to predict market tops and bottoms. And for a lot of you guys that have jumped into crypto, it's been a wild ride for the last couple of months. And I know that's when we've had a lot of people jump in, and that's what has driven up the price. So I'll just talk about the things that I want you guys to get a basic understanding of as we move through this video. So my approach to investing has been basically a four-prong approach. So anytime I invest in the markets, I want to be thinking about what's happening overall in the grand scheme of things in the whole financial world, and why is cryptocurrency attractive to invest in from a basic point of view before you put your money into anything else. So the thing I want to talk about, and the thing that I probably rely on the most, is gauging sentiment and how the majority of people are thinking, and that really comes through in price. And I'll talk about how we can gauge that to the best of our ability. So the other thing I talk about a lot is technical analysis, and then finally fundamental analysis as well. So what's happened in cryptocurrency in the last 5 years since I first jumped into it, I guess. And the reason I first read about cryptocurrency and thought it was going to succeed is because it's basically the same comparison I give to people is when you hear about people posting letters and then email comes on the scene. And when you hear about digital money compared to the old banking system, and the fact that you can take control of your own money, we get rid of these exchange rates when we're going from country to country. Okay, banks will give you one rate on the way over and one rate on the way home, and there's a big spread there. And Bitcoin and digital currencies get rid of that gap straight away. So not only do we stop waiting 10 business days for overseas transactions to clear and get ripped off on exchange rates, okay, cryptocurrencies around the world, it's virtually instant, and it puts the power back into our hand, onto your mobile phone, rather than having to go into a bank. So big fundamental reasons why I thought that stuff was going to take off in the long run. In other scheme of things, okay, where else have people in the past parked their money? Okay, so we think about the stock market. We look at a chart here since the dot-com bubble, then we had the housing bubble, and now stock markets around the world are all at record highs. So why would people want to put their money into markets at record highs? So we talk about other investments, that the big smart money that's starting to come into cryptocurrency now. Okay, another option for them is bond markets. Why would you give the government money for 30 years for 2.8% return? Okay, or why would people park money in European banks for zero or negative interest rates? So we take a look at where the financial world is as a whole, and we can get a sense of why cryptocurrency is attractive, because of the technology and because globally there's not a lot of competitive space for investors to park money in. So that's a few basic reasons why I like cryptocurrency. So next off, we'll talk about some technical analysis, and by no means you have to be an expert just to look at some longer term charts and just see how far we've come with Bitcoin here, from a few $100 only halfway through last year. So within 12 months, we've had a huge acceleration. And what happened? So what we see, and I'm going to try and tie it all together at the end, but what we see here is new people finding out about Bitcoin and jumping into the market. And obviously that creates excitement. So the first thing that we want to talk about is sentiment on social media. So what we've seen on numerous Facebook groups, you can go on Reddit and we'll see that excitement when price is running up. And on the flip side, we'll see that dismay and people giving up when prices are going down and panicking. So we want to roll all that in together as I go through this chat. So there's a few tools that you can use to gauge sentiment. So I'm always looking on the different threads. There's plenty of different Facebook groups and Reddit threads for all your favorite coins to gauge if people are really excited and positive. And there's Google Trends, okay? So if we look over the past 12 months, we can see that searches for Google, on Google for Bitcoin spiked around the 21st of May to the 27th, around that week. And if we go back to the chart, we see there, sure enough, that's where we get a huge run up in price as more people find out about it. So all these different tools, there's not one answer for everything, but we want to use these different things to our advantage to try and work out where we are in the grand scheme of things from a sentiment point of view. So once we've got a sentiment point of view, I'll start to look at those technicals as well. So whenever we have a big run up here in price, you've got to be conscious that if something's going up on a chart, a daily chart like this, okay, and we see the month intervals down the bottom here, May, June, July, when something starts trending up that sharply, we have to be aware that if this is going to continue at this rate, we've got to keep our expectations realistic. So if something's just gone up, let's say round numbers, say $2,000 in 2 months, we've got to say, right, if it keeps going at this pace, it's going to be in 6 more months' time at the end of the year, Bitcoin's going to be $9,000. And that's probably not realistic. We need to take a breather and we need these markets to cool off. So always take a step back, take a look at the longer term, bigger charts. Now, there's a number of technical indicators, okay, and I've done an intro to technical analysis, but just these basic tools down the bottom and indicators here, we can see when we start to reach points of, we call it like being severely overbought on the relative strength indicator and the stochastics, and these things need to take a breather if they've been running along the top here, okay? And we see the MACD here is another really good indicator that look how far this has been compared to anywhere in the past, okay? And all these little things are just more clues and more tools that we have in our toolkit to formulate a bigger picture as to where we are on a whole. So when we start to get overbought indicators, we see hype on social media. The next thing I want to talk about is sort of fundamental analysis. So once Bitcoin starts going up in price that sharply, we see lots of news articles. So you go to CoinDesk, Cointelegraph, mainstream media sites, they're all starting to have huge articles about Bitcoin, and that's the next thing that we want to watch out for. And it becomes really obvious if you've been through one of these cycles a couple of times, as I have, and that's what I want you guys to start to think about next time. So the next time we get a big run up in price, whether it's a few months or a year from now, how are you going to react now that you've been through one of these cycles? And I know it's great to see your account green every day, but I was warning people to start to lock in some profits. And if you're doing your research, I've started to warn people that there's a hard fork approaching and that's going to become an issue. So see how we can see that when we've run this far, and if you can get an idea that a lot of people didn't know what a hard fork was, and if next time we go through a big cycle, there's going to, whether it's an obvious bad news event or something little, you guys are going to be more well informed than you are for the last time and not be blindsided. I know a lot of guys did not see this coming at all, and sure enough, that leads us into talking about how we pick bottoms. So when this was occurring, I know it's really hard to see red on the screen every day, but how many people do you know that were new to this that were panicking and they were saying, posting stuff like, why is Bitcoin going down? Why is Ethereum going down? Why are all these altcoins going down? And if you've done your research, you're not too fussed if it's going down, but if you believe in it with a longer term time frame, and if anything, that's when you'll be stepping in to buy more. And now, how did I gauge and pick the bottom? And for VIP members know that I said on this day right here that this was a good time to buy and add to your long-term portfolio, because I wasn't sure if it was going to take a few more days or a few more weeks even, but I wasn't fussed because longer term now, this to me represented a price and a day when everyone was getting extremely negative. A lot of people had started posting about how much money they'd lost. The herd, you've got to picture what the majority of people are doing, and a lot of people were panicking. And I know it's basic human psychology, and it's so hard to sell high and lock in profits. And on the flip side here, it's hard to step in and buy when it's nothing but red on the screen. But if you do and you've done your research, you can look, and this is the next thing I want to tie in. So now that, what were the things that were going through my head at this very stage to call this the bottom? So anytime we look at a chart without doing too much fancy technical analysis, we can see that a lot of people were sort of buying, and the price hung around here for a long time. So that to me was the first sort of sign that we've had a lot of trading happening at this area in the past. So the other thing that starts to stand out here, if we can just zoom in a little bit more, is the volume here. So if we get a day like this where the big sharp decline, and this red candlestick here has had more volume than we have had in the past 2 weeks, it's a sign that a lot of shares, or Bitcoin in this case, has traded hands. And then the next day we get another big green candle and on big volume. And what that means to me is that for this to be undone, and for us to make now a lower low, and for this not just to be a dead cat bounce as they call it, we have to see more volume than previously has caused the majority of this decline. So I know that might be a bit of a hard concept to get your head around, but when we start to see, and then another green candle on more big volume, it starts to become support. Without being a technical analysis level or anything like that, you just know that a lot of Bitcoin, a lot of volume has traded hands here, and that means that there's a lot of people that have stepped in to buy at this level, and fresh money has changed hands. And again, that ties into the fundamentals. I was talking articles about how big investment banks were waiting to step in and buy, and they weren't going to be chasing market tops. They would wait till we get a correction and step in and buy, and that's the sort of thing I'm looking at. And then from there, I guess, once we have this big leg up, we can start to measure a Fibonacci tool is a basic tool you can use to see how this retraces. And sure enough, when it stays at the highest retracement level here, and sure, it bounced down off a few other levels for a couple of days there, but once we started to consolidate here, and it's almost as if the market was looking around just waiting for everyone to give the all clear to break out to new highs. And for me, that high fib retracement level, once we've taken off from that low, is the perfect launch pad, and here we are now off to new highs. So I know I've skipped over a lot of that stuff fairly quickly, but I'll talk about a few more things in a little bit more analysis now. So a few other things that I'll look at. So as I've said, if we want to get a better picture for picking tops and bottoms, change your time frame. So zoom into an hourly time frame. Let's see if we can go back to the top here around $3,000. And on this day here, if you had been in front of the screen, you can look at these indicators that I just spoke about. So on the day we peaked here, look how overbought these indicators are, up near the highest they've been, okay, for a long time. The MACD, the RSI, and stochastics are all overbought. And again, if you were day trading on this day, you can zoom into a 15-minute time frame or even a 5-minute time frame, and wait for all these things to get severely overbought on like big volume there as well, and that gives you an idea that people are rushing into the market. And if you are on Bitfinex, or this is the one I like because it is the biggest trading platform in the world, we can watch these buy orders just roll in, and there's at the moment there's not a lot happening. It's flashing back and forth a little bit, but I just want to show you a screenshot that I captured of a few days before we took out the all-time high. So look at these orders of 1,000 Bitcoin and 3,000 Bitcoin starting to roll in, and that's what's known as a bit of a buy wall. But 1,000 Bitcoins at this price represents $2.8 million. So, you know, someone that's buying 3,000 Bitcoin is almost throwing $10 million at this market. And when we start to see stuff like this, just by that visual representation there, you should be able to see that there's less resistance to wipe out these buy orders, because all these people want to step in front of these big buy orders, to wipe out the sell orders. So if we switch back to the current trading there, it becomes more of a triangle and evenly weighted on either side as the market's sort of trading as normal now. And you compare that to those huge buy walls you see. It's just another little thing that you can use for conviction that there's big orders stepping in, and I'll be watching that really closely whenever we're near tops and bottoms to watch the action of traders placing their orders either side of the current price. Okay, so another tool to look for. So I guess the other things that I just want to say is at times like this, and I'll talk about Ethereum now, as this was another one that's had a huge run up, okay, and then a huge crash. And I know, as I've said so many times now, it's so hard to not get frustrated when there's huge red and huge declines in your account, and to buy more and average your price down. But one thing I like to do is just clear your head and don't sit in front of the screen all day. Don't check your phone every 2 minutes when things are going down, because again, as I spoke about the straight line going up and it needs to cool off, if this line keeps going down at this rate, Ethereum would have got to zero by the end of August, where we're getting towards now, okay? And that's not going to happen. Nothing even went wrong with Ethereum, okay? There wasn't as if the network had stopped working or anything. This was just a correction on nothing more than the price running too hard and nearly needing to cool off. So go outside, take a walk. Some people like to meditate to clear their head. Think about why you got into cryptocurrency in the first place, okay? Think about the articles you've read recently, about the things you like about the different coins. Have all those things changed? Are you panicking and selling just because of what's happening in the world around you, okay? As I've said before, think about everything else you could have invested in: stock markets, housing, bonds. Are you still happy with your cryptocurrency investment? And if the answer to all those is yes, then there's no need to panic and sell because the price of something has gone down. And I know guys that say to me, oh, I sold here, I panicked, I know I shouldn't have, and I know it's the hardest human emotion to overcome, and it still surprises me. And I'm getting so many messages today from people about Bitcoin just saying to me, oh, I didn't buy, I was a bit panicked, is now the time to buy? And I guess the point of that is, no matter how many times you hear it, until you actually do it a few times, it's very hard to get your head around. So I understand where you're coming from, but the reason that I've started this channel, and especially my VIP members area, is to help guide you through this, because there's lots of sites out there that'll charge you $100 a month for trading advice and give you exit and entry points. But the point that I want to illustrate is that I want you to understand why these are exit and entry points when trading. And if you can understand why, that changes a lot of fundamentals, and it'll give you a lot more confidence to step in. You're not catching a falling knife on a coin you know nothing about. You've done a bit of research, you understand the fundamentals, and it's different to just buying because something has gone down in price if you understand something. So I guess if we want to talk about some more recent action today, let's zoom in on the 1 hour chart and why I think that this is another classic example of why Bitcoin isn't in a bubble and why this isn't popping. So again, from this breakout where it started here at 27.80 and where we peaked out to here at roughly 33.33, again, we've had a bit of a bounce off a nice high fib level, and it looks like we're consolidating, okay? So nothing to panic about yet. If this was to plunge back through here and to start to decline sharply, we haven't had any bad news for Bitcoin, okay, at the moment. Nothing's changed. So hopefully this week more people find out about it and there's more money flooding into the market. But that's a good example. And there's another, I want to illustrate this more with Bitcoin Cash. So I spoke about how when this hit the market, it was not a true indication of price for those supply and demand reasons. And I spoke about how we made some money shorting it on the way down. And what I'm looking at now, and just to go over everything I've just spoken about, how to pick bottoms, okay? So anything that's fallen, 80% in price, we have to have a look at it. We're not buying something that's a bad stock that's fallen 80% in price. We're buying something that, whether you hate it or love it, there's a group of people out there that think that Bitcoin Cash is the best way forward for Bitcoin. So this has been going nothing but down for the last few days here. We've got down to $230, and now we've had a big spike move up, and we're consolidating at that high fib level. So now I'm starting to say maybe there's a bottom in for Bitcoin Cash, and maybe there's a trading opportunity here. So again, I'll be keeping an eye on all these indicators. If we can get to severely oversold, okay, on the different time frames, I'll be looking around for those fundamental analysis. I've been looking around, and sentiment towards Bitcoin Cash is terrible. Everyone's hating on it. Everyone's rushing to sell, and this becomes that self-fulfilling prophecy of when the herd and when everyone has got the same mindset, it only requires a few people to change their mind to get sharp changes in price in the opposite direction, because everyone's on one side of the boat. And I'll show that to you now, and here's a good example of people that were going long versus people that were going short on trading positions. So on the 1st of August, a lot of people were anticipating the price to go down a Bitcoin due to the hard fork on the 1st of August. And we got to a point where we had a record amount of short positions as illustrated here. And when everyone's on one side of the boat and everyone expects that to go down and they've shorted the market, there's no one left to take the other side of that trade. So every time you're selling something, you've got to remember there's got to be an equal amount of buyers to create a market. And when we see, sure enough, a record amount of people were shorting Bitcoin and the price was going up, and that does a couple of things. It creates a short squeeze, so all these people have to unwind their positions, as well as there has to be more people agree with their opinion for the position to play out the way they thought. And a lot of the time, when there's a consensus on something, when everyone thinks Bitcoin's going to go down, that becomes that self-fulfilling prophecy. There's no more people left to join the crowd. 100% of the crowd already think it's going to go down. So the price has already gone down as far as it can go. And I hope you guys can get your head around the that sort of concept. So another thing I'll just touch on quickly is Elliott wave theory, and that's another technical analysis tool that talks about measuring human emotion. And when everyone's on that one side of the boat down the bottom and everyone thinks something's going to go down, then we get a big sharp move off the lows, and then we have a bit of a correction, and investors here are still scared and saying, oh, this is just a bounce, and no one still believes the price of whatever it is can go up. And that's why we get these big moves, okay? Because once everyone goes from being on one side of the boat to the other and changes their mind, as we saw in Bitcoin, a lot of people were on the sidelines throughout the hard fork and waiting to see what happens. And I've been saying that we're going to see a really sharp move to the upside that surprises everyone, because so many people are sitting on the sidelines and they're rushing back into the market. And that's what creates these big waves, and we see it time and time again in cryptocurrency. So I hope that's answered a few questions. It's something that I could talk about for hours to help you guys get your head around all the things I look at, okay? I've been working on my own sort of indicator of sentiment, and the last few weeks before Bitcoin bottomed, this indicator that I've developed basically measures the new accounts and new interest on social media as opposed to previous times. So the last week here, there was the indicator was flashing at 0 for all these days leading up to it, because basically says that there's no new people finding out about Bitcoin and there's no new accounts getting opened with exchanges and whatnot. And it happened again here the other day, and sure enough, people don't buy until price starts to go up, and it's really funny. And you look at a chart and you say, why would you buy here when it goes up? You should be buying when it goes down. And as I've spoken about, I know that's hard to do, but it's what you should be doing. It's the reason I've created this channel, to help you guys all make money, and it's the reason I've created the VIP service for people that want that little bit extra of coaching and guiding. And when it's not a day trading room, I don't give out buys and sells each day on different coins. It's more about capturing these big swings and making the most of big trends in the market and getting on the right side of that herd trade, or getting everyone on the one side of the boat. Those sort of trades are the ones that I'm looking to cash in on. So, guys, if you want to start firing away with a few questions, I'll keep an eye on the live chat here. So, I think I've got a few questions rolling in from my members. So, what platform do I use to buy and sell cryptocurrency? So, I've gone over that on a few YouTube videos. I've got links down below. I think Coinbase is one of the easiest and safest if you're new to this, especially on your phone app, to open a new account. Other ones that are good are CoinJar and CoinSpot for Australians, okay? So, any other questions we got rolling in, guys? So, thoughts on OMG? I know that's a project that's got some good developers. Vitalik's advising. It's obviously had a good run in price. Few more questions here. So, transferring back into altcoins. I know a lot of people still have difficulty about getting their head around the fact that a lot of exchanges are priced their altcoins in Bitcoin or Ethereum. So, you've got to start to think about it, if we go to CoinMarketCap, in terms of their dollar value rather than in terms of compared to Bitcoin. So, it's another reason why this stuff is still hard to get your head around, I know. So, all right, guys, I'm not sure what's going on with the live stream. I'm not sure how the quality of this, but it looks like it may have cut out. So I'm sorry about that, and I'll talk to you again next time.